And welcome to another edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. We talk to you about the high school football scene around Hampton Roads and beyond throughout the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. We're streaming live, as we do each and every week, from the Virginia Beach Sportsplex YouTube channel, and also seen not just on beachsportsplex.com and on YouTube, but we're also up on Facebook through the Virginia Beach Sportsplex Facebook channel, on Twitter, or X as people refer to it now, at 757 Sports Talk. And we've got some interviews for you. We'll be chatting with Kellam head football coach Brian Neas in just a little bit. That'll be coming your way, as well as some playbacks from a couple of really good games last week. Tabb Tigers moving to 5-1 on the year as they got themselves a nice victory over the Bruton Panthers. And we had on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk podcast, which comes your way each and every Saturday with yours truly and the coach Ed Young. We had on Coach John Byron, but a nice 68-20 win for the Tabb Tigers over Bruton last week at Bailey Field. So they've got a big one on deck with Lafayette, and one of the Player of the Week candidates, Cam Dixon. We spoke with him, and we're going to actually start things off beginning there with Cam Dixon, the fullback, linebacker extraordinaire. Tabb had its best scoring output since the 1980s, and a huge matchup in the Bay Rivers following up the big one where War Hill was able to rally against Lafayette. We had a huge one in the Southeastern District, and we caught up with not just Chris Scott, the head coach of the Tigers, and Lonnie Andrews last week on the 757 Saturday Sports Talk podcast, but we also spoke with the standout quarterback for the standout wide receiver for the Oscar Smith Tigers to go with the standout quarterback. We caught up with Chris Scott and Lonnie Andrews III, the freshman phenom, if you will, but you'll also hear from today's On the Hash with Hatfield podcast. I threw myself off there for a second. It's been a crazy 24 hours. As you see, I've got the Diamondbacks hat on. I'm still celebrating. I'm in celebratory mode over their big win they had over the Los Angeles Dodgers on Wednesday night to move on to the NLCS. We now await Philadelphia or Atlanta coming up in the playoffs. Baseball's got its ALCS set up with the Lone Star State Showdown, as it is going to be Texas versus Houston. But anyways, we had Lonnie Andrews and Chris Scott on Saturday's episode of the podcast with yours truly and Coach Ed Young. So you'll hear from Lafonte Throurogood, former Ocean Lakes dual threat QB, and the wide receiver who caught the game-winning touchdown pass, Travis Johnson, in just a bit. But first up here on the pod, we're going to hear from Cam Dixon of the Tabb Tigers. Bay Rivers Power, they've got those Tennessee Volunteers colors. They got a big one with Texas A&M coming up on Saturday. But here's what Cam Dixon told us after his team's exciting win last week over at Bailey Field. Let's give it a listen now here on The Hash with Hatfield.
All right, I'm here with Tabb Tigers standout running back and defensive standout Cam Dixon. 21 carries for 249 yards, a new career high, 5 rushing touchdowns. Also had a pick tonight as the Tigers win 68-20 over Bruton. All right, did you expect to have 5 touchdowns, 200 plus, and score 68 points tonight? You couldn't have envisioned all this.
I couldn't have, but I knew we could make it happen. I trusted my line and just kept punching it in.
You guys had a great comeback to begin the year against Heritage, where you were one of the standouts in that game in the second half. Had a big win over your rival in York. Now you're 5-1. How's this feeling under a new head coach and Coach Byron this year, what you all are doing and accomplishing?
It's good. It's definitely a big step up from last year, but we got lots of tough games ahead, so we got to stay focused and locked in.
Played running back, you play linebacker. Yes, which do you play better?
I don't know. I like playing both. Both's fun for me.
Tell me about, we'll get to your touchdowns in a second, the interception you had, because you get it done. You lead this team in tackles as well on the defensive side of the ball.
I just tracked it and jumped, caught it, and just did what I do.
Of your 5 TDs tonight, which was the best and which was the hardest?
I would say the best is the one where I think I broke like 40-yard touchdown with our Rhino. And, that one drive took us a little bit, but we got it done. We got it done, sure.
And the hardest was what?
It was when we had to drive all the way down there, and it was just a little 5-yard touchdown, but just the process of getting there was a struggle. Yeah.
Absolutely. Tell me about your linemen up front. You got some big guys, 77, 73. Diego got a Stetson offer this week. Yes, they really help open up some holes for you, do they not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For sure. They make holes for me. I score touchdowns. So it works.
How good can this team be, and what do you think right now you're doing well that can make you all, a team that's a factor come playoff time?
I think, we all do our job. We all hit our blocks. We prove that we can make it happen. We can break big plays. So we're going to keep doing that.
When you're watching football and college pros, who are the backs you like to watch and study to kind of incorporate little parts of their games into your own? There's got to be some people you watch when you put on TV and watch some football.
Well, I like, Derrick Henry, stiff arm. That's always a classic. I watch some, Ray Lewis highlights sometimes at linebacker. Just studying.
Good deal. You had one loss this year. Was it to Picosa? I think it was close.
Yes,
What'd you learn from that defeat?
It was just we beat ourselves that game. We kept turnovers, and we were better than that. But I mean, we bounced back, and
I don't know if you noticed, last one for you. Most points for Tabb since 1986 when you scored 72 against Pocosin. You got a big one coming up with Lafayette. What do you guys need to do to have a chance in that ballgame?
Well, Coach Byron came from Lafayette, so I think he knows how they work, and I think we definitely do got a chance. It's going to be a very tough game, I can't lie, but we got a chance.
This guy's ready, number 43, Cam Dixon, 200-plus yards on the ground, 5 TDs. We'll see you soon. Congrats on the win.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job.
All right, so that was Tabb Tigers standout Cam Dixon, 200-plus on the ground, 5 TD runs. He was right there for Player of the Week. He was 1A, 1B with the guy that got that award, and you'll see that just coming up here in a moment here on the Hash with Hatfield, as Tabb is certainly going to help its cause in the playoff picture. They're in, of course, Region 3A, whereas you look at things right now as far as the playoffs go, it's currently at the top, the Hopewell Blue Devils from Richmond, 23.83. Then Tabb is sitting there at 21.67. Lafayette is third, so that game's going to give the winner a number 2 slot. At the time being, there still be 3 regular season games remaining after that. Norcom, who fell to Churchland last week, they're 3-4, and they're sitting in the number 4 hole. And then you've got Petersburg, Booker T. Washington, Lake Taylor, which had a surprising loss last week to Granby. They're actually in the playoff picture right now as a 7 seed. I'm not sure Tabb wants to see them in the first round potentially, but you're looking at the situation, and it is looking like they could find a way to squeeze in Grafton, which had a setback loss to Smithfield. They're the 8th seed at the moment, so they would have to open up at Hopewell. But a lot will change between now and then when it comes to the high school football scene and some of the games. We'll preview those matchups coming up in just a little bit here. But we also mentioned, I've been waiting for, you look forward to these games to circle on the calendar. War Hill Lafayette was one. We've got a recap of that up on VirginiaPreps.com. For those that missed it, we had Jerome Rhodes on last week's podcast. Go check out that conversation with Coach Rhodes. We link up all the podcast episodes to the YouTube channel with On the Hash with Hatfield on VirginiaPreps.com as well, along with the field hockey show. So if you miss something and you can't find it, we have links right to it on the YouTube channel on VirginiaPreps.com. We'll hopefully have those up for you on BeachSportsplex.com soon. I'll offer that with the crew, the Hometown Sports Productions crew here, as people have been asking how they can find things quick, snappy on their fingers. We'll get you all set up through all the social pages and the website links too. But, you look forward to some of these big games, and sometimes they can be letdowns, disappointments. They ask, who you pulling for, who you picking for. The picks are fun. We don't really care who wins the games. I care about excitement, drama. You want some wonderful finishes, and we had that in Chesapeake, not just in the Bay Rivers District with War Hill and Lafayette. Rams got up to a 10-point lead. Jerome Rhodes' team came back behind. Tavion Blockett, Liam Francisca at quarterback, and the offense got it done, along with some stingy defense down the stretch against a really good Lafayette team that can run the football. Andy Lynn's team is always well coached and disciplined. But Oscar Smith, Indian River, the Braves were coming off the heartbreaking double overtime loss at home to Kings Fork the week before. And here they are with the chance to stun Oscar Smith. They're down 2 scores in the game. They battle back. Tyler Allison on 3rd and long rolls to his left, finds Trevion Slaughter for a deep touchdown, and it's suddenly deadlocked. And if it goes to overtime, you feel like the momentum's with Indian River. Oscar Smith, a little bit of a dicey clock management situation at the end, but Chris Scott's Tigers come through thanks to Lonnie Andrews III throwing up a 34-yard touchdown pass to the hero of the ball game, and that was none other than Travis Johnson. So he had his OC, his assistant head coach, if you will, Lafonte Throurogood, catch up with us along with Travis Johnson after the unbelievable finish where Oscar Smith beats Indian River yet again. Final play of the game, and here's that conversation with Travis Johnson, who's got a dozen-plus offers already. Older brother plays for West Virginia, and Torrey Johnson, and Coach Throurogood. We watch it now with On the Hash with Hatfield.
All right, here with Oscar Smith, standout sophomore receiver Travis Johnson, who hauled in the game-winning touchdown pass, 34 yards from the freshman QB Lonnie Andrews III. We also got the offensive coordinator, the guy that called the play on Lafonte Throurogood, former Ocean Lake standout quarterback with us. Travis, older brother made some big plays here at Oscar Smith. He's now playing at West Virginia. How's this feel to catch a game winner here on a Friday night against the rival Indian River, and you're getting mobbed by your teammates and the whole community, if you will?
It feels amazing. Yeah.
Tell me what's going through your mind there. It's a 21-14 lead. They come down. They end up tying the game up, but you're driving to win this game. In the last play there, it looks like you're running out of time. What was called, and what's going through your mind as you run your route and Lonnie's throwing the ball?
I knew we were going to win the game. Go up and get it. Yes, sir.
How tall are you?
6'3".
So you know when it's a jump ball. You've made some freakish catches since the scrimmage I saw against Dinwiddie and some of those teams. Tell me about just your role tonight, because you caught the first touchdown pass and what they've asked out of you as a sophomore going from, you played mostly JV last year, correct?
Yes, sir. And I played both, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
but how your roles increased and what's been asked
Yes,
out of you.
sir. Just be great, be amazing. Yes, sir. That's pretty much it.
Lafonte, was there any or Coach Throurogood, I call you now. I used to cover you as a player, so now I know he's a coach. What's this mean to see a youngster like this, along with a freshman quarterback, step up in this moment?
Reminds me of myself and Justin Hunter. All right, they're a little more polished than we were. Okay. All right, but they're definitely that duo. Travis is a special guy. We knew that since day one. And we told him right before that, he didn't catch the ball, and I looked him right in his face. He looked me right in my face and said, Travis, you got to make this play. He looked me right in my face with all the confidence in the world, and Lonnie believed him, and we knew he was going to get it done.
Now, when he says Justin Hunter, you know he played in the NFL. Have you seen clips of this? And you know what he's talking about?
Yes,
that's pretty high praise. What's that mean to hear that from your coach say that?
It was amazing. Yeah, they were great.
You got one up on your brother now. I don't know if he ever caught a game winner. He got a lot of touchdowns. He's playing with the Mountaineers in Morgantown. Without giving me the exact play call, was it just go deep and see if you Hail Mary? What's kind of on the play sheet there? What's the conversation with you and Coach Scott and the group as you're coming out of a timeout there?
Yes, sir. Christine actually dialed that play up. We called it before the half, and it was wide open. We missed it. So we knew coming back into it, they were scared of Travis on the deep ball. They were scared. We knew that safety was going to take over with that first post. And we was like, Travis, this your shot. Do what you do. Do what your best. That God bless you with this ability. You hold these abilities. Make the play. He looked in my eyes and said, yes, sir. I knew he was going to get it.
Now, you know how fans are. They're going to say, man, this shouldn't have come down to this. But to win a game like this, the excitement, last play, what's this do for the character, the morale of these kids to grind it out this way?
These guys right here face adversity every day. Every day in the building, in the community, everybody doubt them. Everybody doubt them. Oh, the team's young. But we know our young guys can get the job done. Guys like Travis, guys like Lonnie, we believe in them 110%. 110%. Without all the doubt and all the adversity, this is what we're built for.
I know the win's what matters most, but certainly this is a highlight that you'll remember for the rest of your life, right?
Yes, sir. It's amazing.
Where do you go from here? I mean, this is a big win, and certainly you guys have bigger goals in mind, right?
Yes, sir. We just got to get better from here. Yes, sir.
And, Coach, to see this done with a ninth grader at quarterback, a sophomore receiver, a lot of people counted you out when you lost to Phoebus. It feels like this group's pretty hungry.
Yes, sir. It's coming together. Like I said, we have a young team, 2 seniors on offense, 2 seniors on defense. We're just gelling. Every week we're getting better in practice. We're getting better in the games. The sky's the limit for this team.
Tigers win a throw on the request of the postseason. Thank you so much, Coach Throurogood and Travis Johnson, the hero tonight. Good job.
So you heard from Travis Johnson, the standout for the Oscar Smith Tigers, hauling in that winning touchdown pass, as well as the assistant coach Lafonte Throurogood, who used to throw touchdown passes up to Justin Hunter, who made the NFL, as Oscar Smith beats Indian River by a count of 27-21. Big matchup for the Braves as they got to try to bounce back against Nansemond River, which won't be easy on the road. One of the games to watch out for. Oscar Smith plays host to Deep Creek, a game that will matter for running back Brandon Nesbitt, who got hurt in that game, 150-plus yards, had a couple touchdown runs in the first half, but he plays his old school as Deep Creek got a nice win over Western Branch last week. The playoff power ratings are showing for Region 6A. You see at the top is Thomas Dale, despite their quarterback, UVA commit Ethan Minter getting hurt. Then you have Highland Springs, a multi-time state champion under Lauren Johnson. Manchester won a state championship not too many years ago with Brendan Clark at quarterback for Coach Tom Hall. And then you have a tie for 4th. How about the storyline that could be if it is Perry Jones at Glen Allen going up against his former school in Oscar Smith, where he was a running back on that 2008 title-winning team with Philip Sims at quarterback under Coach Rich Morgan. If those two square off, the Jaguars and Tigers in the first round, they're currently tied for 4th right now in Region 6A. Lansdowne, despite a lopsided loss to Kempsville's checking in the 6th slot. They'd be on the road if that holds. Then Grassfield trying to jump into the playoff picture with a freshman quarterback who's going to be pretty good in Landon Curls. Meadowbrook edging out Western Branch at the time being. Western Branch on the playoff bubble, despite winning Region 6A a season ago. Only the top 8 go. Cosby and Deep Run on the outside looking in. Probably going to be hard for those two to crack the postseason picture. Before we go to break here, let's present the Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week. And who better than the young men who got it done in a big way? Travis Johnson. He's going to be a good one. As you see the stats on the screen there, 6 grabs, 127 yards for him, 2 touchdowns, the game winner from 34 yards out. And he ends up helping the Tigers win 27-21. 18 grabs this year for 436 yards and 4 touchdowns, just a 10th grader, but he's going to be on the radar of a lot of schools, not just West Virginia in Morgantown, where mom went to school, pops went to school, older brother Tori goes to school, but he will be a coveted prospect for a couple of years here coming up in the class of, sophomore? He'd be class of 2026. My gracious, I've been doing this too long. I remember when I had prospects in the class of 2004, 2005, things of that nature, but kudos to Chicho's Pizza 757 Football Player of the Week, Travis Johnson. It goes to a receiver yet again. Chris Higgins has got this award from Atlantic Shores. Caden Davis, who's going from wide receiver to quarterback now for the Sun Devils of Salem due to injury, he's gotten the award. Messiah Delome's caught passes, interceptions from Warwick. He's gotten the award. So it's really been the skill position guys who have been dominating this honor for much of the year. So there you have it. All right, we're going to take a time out here from a couple of our sponsors and then come back with Brian Neas, the head football coach of the Kellam Knights, right here. It's On the Hash with Hatfield. Right now, we'll hear from a couple of our sponsors, including Dairy Queen, right here from the Plex.
Okay, who here has reached peak fall?
Peak what?
Peak fall!
I am wearing plaid.
And I'm wearing a cardigan.
I guess I am eating snickerdoodle cookie dough.
And I am eating a pumpkin pie blizzard.
The new DQ Fall Blizzard menu has reached peak fall. Pumpkin pie, snickerdoodle cookie dough, and more. They are back!
I just love fall. Apparently we all do.
Oh, they did it! Peak fall achieved! DQ, happy tastes good.
And we welcome you back to On the Hash with Hatfield. Matt Hatfield here with you from the Plex, and we're pleased to be joined by a special guest. He is the head football coach of the Kellam Knights, where he was a longtime assistant with Chris DeWitt, and now at the helm of the program, coming off a thrilling win just this past week over the Tallwood Lions. If you didn't see it, well, we'll give you a chance to see it real quickly, because this is what happened at the end of the game. They're trailing the Lions, and this was the final play with quarterback Luke Ashcraft dropping back to throw. It was a thriller there as the Knights got it done 28-26. Tyler Ellis hauling in the 13-yard touchdown pass that was tipped not once, not twice, I think 3 or 4 times at least, with a couple seconds to go. And we say hello and congrats to Coach Brian Neas. You've been a part of some great games over the years at Kellam. We know about the rivalry games with schools like Cox and First Colonial. That's got to be right up there, though, Coach.
Oh, it's a great win. I mean, our kids fought all game, and we went down early, managed to rally back. And then needing to play 2 seconds left, having a sophomore quarterback throw that ball up and our senior tight end just going up and just deciding he was going to get that ball and win the game for us. That's a heck of a catch. Great play by him.
Without a doubt, a two-sport guy. I know he plays basketball as well as Tyler for Coach Norman Hassel there on the hardwood. Coach, it's interesting looking at the beach. I remember tweeting this, I think, a week or two ago, that there was 30 games played, and I think there was 18 of them decided by 8 points or less, which is essentially one possession. There's been, I think, of the first 30 games, 21 have had a deficit overcome. You've been on the good side and bad side of that. You had a game with First Colonial, looked like you got it won. You lose 27-25. You come back against Kempsville down 2 touchdowns. You win that one. You went to triple overtime with Ocean Lakes. Just speak on, as a coach, how nerve-wracking it is, but also from the fan perspective, it's got to be exciting and competitive to see these games go down to the last second, the last play oftentimes.
I keep hearing from all our, parents and fans about how much they enjoyed, watching the game and how much fun it is to come to the games. I'm going to tell you what, this season, I started the season with hair and color in my beard, and these games are kind of taking that out of me at the moment. I mean, we could easily, if we win those 2, the triple overtime game and the First Colonial game, we could easily be 5-1. By the same token, we could easily be 0-6, just being in such close games, and it's definitely putting a stress on the old ticker. But the kids have responded, and they are fighting their hind parts off.
Yeah, they really are. And it's funny. You're right. I mean, you're 1 or 2 bounces away from being like 5-1. You're 1 and 2 bounces away from being 1-5. And coming up, we'll get to your opponent you got on Saturday on the road for their homecoming in Bayside. They play Green Run as well as anybody has all year, tied at the half, and they've had some hard luck in some games. We know that's a challenging matchup for you, but let's dive into those that aren't familiar with Brian Neas's background. We know you quite well. We've talked to you over the years, and we've seen you with Coach DeWitt. Fill the audience in a little bit about your playing days, how you got involved with coaching. I know you're an old Bruin back to the Lou Johnston days.
Yeah, I played at Western Branch, graduated 89, went to Milliam and Mary to try and play, and that didn't work out too well. So I just started, I went back to school and started working on my education stuff. I was assigned as a student teacher to Bayside Middle School, and lo and behold, my cooperating teacher was Chris DeWitt. And at the time, middle school football was in the spring. This is back in, I think, 96. And I said, hey, man, you need some help with the middle school team. And he asked me if I knew anything about football, and I told him my experience. He said, yeah. And so the next year I got hired on as a teacher in Virginia Beach, and I coached in the fall at Bayside High School under Bill King for the varsity football team. And then in the middle school, I was an assistant on the Bayside middle school team. And then Bill King resigned. So Robert Jackson got that job at Bayside. So I moved over to Salem High School to be an assistant varsity football coach under Tim O'Reilly while he was in town, and continued to coach middle school football in the spring. And then in 99, Chris applied for the head job at Kellam, and he got it. And I transferred over with him to be an assistant coach, and here I am. I haven't left since 99. And when Chris decided to retire, I kind of was left with a decision to make. Is it time for me to hang it up also? But I kind of thought I still a little bit left. I didn't want to hang the whistle up yet. I still enjoy what I'm doing. I'm still physically able to do it. So I decided just to keep going. And here I am. This is year 27, coaching varsity football here in Virginia Beach. And man, it's fun to come to work every day.
And doing a fine job. I see a lot of parallels with you all at Kellam and at Cox. Certainly, they've had a couple of coaching changes since Bill Stachelsky going from the Pro Football Hall of Famer Alan Finnick to now Tyler Noe. And I see you all at Kellam. You keep a lot of, like what Cox has done, a lot of the same staff members. You've had sort of that same familiarity. So tell us a little bit about your coaching staff, too, because I know it's not a one-man job, and especially with football being almost year-round these days, you have to really be on top of things. And I know that's helped you in a lot of ways when these close games get a little dicey down the stretch, and you got to make a play call at the end of the game, 13 yards to go to score, right? Or kick the field goal, those type of things. You got to make tough decisions.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, our staff, I'm going to tell you what, I'm so blessed to have the staff that I have. Many of them have been here working over 20 years, and, half of them have played for me while I was coaching here. So Chris Miller, who's the head JV coach and the assistant varsity head coach, he started in 99. He spent a little time in Texas, but he came back, and he's been on the staff for a long time. Jeff Hudson, our offensive coordinator, came on the staff in 01. And so he's been here for 20 some odd years. Andrew Turner, who played tight end and DN for me and then played defensive end at Old Dominion. He coaches. He's been here 10 years or so. He's the defensive coordinator now. KJ Burris, DB's coach. He played for me, played at Glenview State. Joe Marquette helps out with the JV line. He played for me also. I picked up a couple newbies, I guess you could say. Terrell Smith played at First Colonial. This is his first year on the staff. Brian Branch, who is a U.S. Navy member. He's volunteering with us this year, learning the game. And then I got really lucky. I kind of lucked into this when his stepson goes to Kellam High School. But Mike Williams, who coaches our varsity O-line, he was a two-time All-American, University of Texas, number 3 overall NFL draft pick for the Bills, played for the Redskins as well. He's done a great job with our young offensive line.
Wow, that's amazing. And, I've been doing it a long time as far as covering it, Coach. When I hear the name KJ Burris, so it feels like just a few years ago, I was covered and playing for the Knights, and then I see, and correct me if I'm wrong where he is now, but I think Greg Nosal, who I remember covering years back, he's at Bowling Green as an assistant coach at the college level.
Yeah, he's been all over the place. He was a GA at Tech. He helped out at the University of Miami under Stacey Searles. and now he's the tight ends coach at Bowling Green.
That's quite a resume of guys you've all helped produce on to the next level. Now they're coaching and helping out these young kids. Well, let's get to the kids that you're helping groom right now at Kellam High School. I know before the season, and we chatted in the 7-on-7 you all run, which is just a superb event you do weekly from about May until the early portion of the summer. Right before the dead period, right after the dead period ends. I'm not sure where exactly it falls out, but as far as it finishes, you were very high on your offensive line. I know they were young last year, got their feet wet, but tell me how that group has progressed, because you got one of the toughest, hard-nosed running backs in the beach right now, and David Wilk, who had 3 touchdown runs for you last week against Tallwood.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with a bunch of kids that are working incredibly hard, and we've been working through some injuries this year. I have two senior offensive tackles right now. Will Brophy, he worked so hard, but he's had a little knee thing. He had to get a little scope done, so he's been out the last couple weeks. We're looking, hopefully he might be back last 2 games. He's working hard, rehab, and trying to get himself back. I'm going to tell you, Richie Bogart, this young man has started for me for 3 years now, and this is a tough kid. He's working really hard. My center, who's also Robert Peckham, who's also played guard and tackle. We've had to move and shift around because of injuries and absences and things. Big kid, junior, who's playing great ball. And then last year, my project, he's from Greece. He hadn't played any football before last year. Thomas Katapotis, he's giant. He's 6'9", 310 pounds, and he'd never played football before. And last year we had to teach him, basically what a helmet was, how to put on his shoulder pads and all that kind of stuff. And this year he's gotten a lot of playing time, and he continues to improve. Mason Cravey, guard for me, played a lot of time. I've got another sophomore, William Smith, who is just a tough little guy that he's been thrown into the fire probably a year before he was ready, but he's responded well. And no matter what combination I have to play those kids in, they are absolutely showing up and doing the hard work to make David look good.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks might have their own Greek freak, but you got one who's a 6'9" giant there on the tackle spot. I'm sure Norm will be loving to try to get his hands on him come basketball season in the winter. But certainly with Wilk back there, what he's done running the football, I know he was key to your comeback win against Kempsville. Just tell us more about that young man and what he's done in terms of being that engine for your offense, because if I'm not mistaken, last year I think he was mainly just a linebacker. Then you kind of figured out once he got the ball in his hands, he can do some good things.
Well, yeah, we had he has started for me. He started for 4 years, but at different positions. When he was a freshman during that COVID season, he started at free safety. Then as a sophomore, we moved him up to strong safety. Then as a junior last year, he started off as one of our 2 inside linebackers. And then we had a couple of running backs get hurt in the preseason last year, and we ended up in a scrimmage versus Nansemond River, and we had to give David the ball. He was running like 3rd or 4th tailback at the time because he was starting on defense. We gave him the ball, and we realized, this kid can do some things with the ball. He's got a little more wiggle than you would think with his size. And it was hard to get him out of the backfield after that. So he ended up, leading us in rushing last year, splitting time with 2 other tailbacks who also did a pretty good job. So going into this year, we knew that this was a guy that we could rely on, to carry the ball and do good things for us. He catches the ball well out of the backfield on the screen game and the quick game. And he's having a heck of a year. He dinged an ankle and missed a green run game. Otherwise, I think he'd be right close to 1,000 yards by this point of the season. He's just under 800 at the moment. But he's having a heck of a year.
Certainly is, as the Knights are 3-3 before their key matchup coming up on Saturday. We're at Bayside as they're currently sitting in the number 8 slot. We'll have the power ratings show up on our screen here in just a moment. And, Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the passing game, you've also got Tyler catching that touchdown pass there. Luke Ashcraft is a sophomore. Your game with First Colonial to begin the year, and it was back and forth, and your air attack really gave you a chance with Ashcraft there. Tell us about him and what that's helped, that element to complement your ground game and the offensive line has done for you all in some of these tight ball games.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I keep trying to figure out when I'm going to get like an upperclassman quarterback through here. The last, 3 seasons have been sophomores. I had a sophomore start last year, Harrison Stanley. His father is in the U.S. Navy. He got transferred back to Pensacola. And so we started looking around, what do we have in-house? And I've got 5 quarterbacks, and all of them are either sophomores or freshmen. So we had some competition this summer and during the preseason, and Luke kind of stood out, especially at the first scrimmage versus Nasman River. And, he's been doing a good job. He hasn't made, he's hitting the open receiver for the most part. He's had some growing pains, as have all of our young kids that are out there playing. But he has made some absolutely amazing throws. He's keeping us on schedule. And he's doing a good job of making sure we're all lined up and in the right spots and getting ready to do the right thing. We've got a whole bunch of young kids on the team. There's a whole bunch of sophomores playing all over the place. DeJuan Hayes has caught a really big pass against Tallwood late in the game to kind of put us in position so that we could even take that shot at the end zone to win it. He's caught a lot of big plays. I've got sophomore DBs all over the place. I mean, this is a young squad mixed in with a few very talented seniors.
With having so many underclassmen, the confidence has to be sort of sky high right now, coming off that big win over Tallwood, who, if I'm not mistaken, was second in the Beach, only behind Green Run in terms of scoring offense and points per game on the year. Tell us about this defensively, some of those young pups, how they're growing up, and just the challenge that awaits for you in Bayside, because I know they've sort of had the number of Kellam over the years, 13 of the last 14, although there was a game back in 2019 where you won it 32-24, and you did have a nice little balance out with the passing game, threw for 153 yards to go with the 262 on the ground. That game converted a lot of third downs, and I know back then you had a really good tight end in Blake Barnes who stepped up and helped keep drives alive in that win over the Marlins, which if you get one on Saturday can be a real boost in this playoff situation where you're right now sitting in at the number 8 slot. Bayside and Indian River, hard to believe they're 9-10 because those two teams have played Oscar Smith and Green Run last week, very, very close. But your region, 1 win, 1 loss, you can go from 2-9 or 9-2 in the blink of an eye, can't you?
I mean, it's crazy. The Beach District this year, you have Green Run, who is obviously having a great season again. But then the rest of all the other 10 teams are all kind of right there in the same spot. And from week to week, man, it's a battle. People talk about strength of district and strength of anything. I guarantee you there ain't a game in the Beach that anybody takes for granted. You got to come out and you've got to play your best. Bayside's a great team. They've got a very athletic quarterback. They've got very good running backs. Some of their receivers I've watched on film make some exceptional plays. They fly around on defense. It's going to be a challenge. We're looking forward to the challenge, but they're a good squad. I think we're improving, and we're a pretty good squad, and it's going to be a heck of a battle Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it should be. I'm looking forward to it there. It's a little Saturday afternoon football. Let's hope the weather's been good, because I know there's been some strange weather situations we've had with the rain and the wind. It actually moved the Beach schedule from playing you haven't had a lot of Friday games this year, it seems like, Coach. It feels like most of them have all been going on Thursdays, or you've had a Saturday, a Monday deal, this type of thing. So it's been a Tuesday week. We had some games, so it's been kind of shifted all around everywhere. How have you managed that, A, and then I'll get to the follow-up with it, but how's that been for the kids as far as, I know they look forward to Friday Night Lights, and it's a lot of times out of your control, but how you've all managed the whole schedule scenario and the things being so unusual, if you will.
Yeah, I am not a fan of weekday games. I mean, there's a reason why we play on Friday, and I love that Friday night experience. But if you think about it, I think I played 3 games on a Friday so far out of our 6. And we're not going to play on Friday this week. We're playing on Saturday. So that'll be 3 out of 7 that we played on a Friday. Because of that rain situation with the storm that came through, we ended up playing, the Tuesday, the Monday, the Friday. That's 3 games in 10 days. And if you get a couple kids injured here or there, or a couple, things like that, you got to be able to develop that depth and get that next kid to step up, because that's tough on the high school body to have to play 3 games in 10 days. And it's tough on the old guys like myself, coming into school that after that Tuesday triple overtime game on that Wednesday was not a fun experience. And then even playing on Monday night, that next school day, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it really can be. And lastly, Coach, and we appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing your squad in action coming up on Saturday. I know you've had all these games. It feels like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games decided by literally 3 points or less. The only game that wasn't was the Green Run game, which is remarkable. And I think before last week, Ocean Lakes, every one of their games was decided by 8 points or less. So they were like in the same boat with you, as have a lot of teams when you're talking about Bayside or Cox or Kempsville or this team, Lansdowne, Salem. And you still have a few of those teams left with Lansdowne, Salem, and Cox beyond this game with Bayside. How crucial is it, A, being in close games, it's helped these young kids grow up, and B, I think you got a pretty good field goal kicker. I think Davis Funk has made about 5 field goals on the year, and going back to way back in the day when you had Brandon Pace at Kellam High School, you all tend to turn out a lot of good field goal kickers. So how much is that a big, confidence boost that if you get in a close game, you feel pretty confident your kids have been in that spot and you have a guy that can make a big kick if you need it?
Oh, absolutely. Like, without a doubt, our punter and kicker have absolutely saved our bacon for a lot of the years. I mean, Davis handles our punting and our PATs. I have 2 other kickers. Brandon Prater handles my kickoffs. And I have another kicker who all of these guys are tremendous soccer players. Dylan Bedois he's got a heck of a leg. He handles my long kickoffs and my long field goals. So we've got a mix of kickers that I can throw out just depending upon the situation. But being able to help out in the kicking game, change field position, make sure we're not making terrible mistakes in that, and keeping kids, making them drive long fields instead of short fields really, really helps out, especially in tight games.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you and the Knights coming up on Saturday. Bayside High School, 2 o'clock kickoff as 2 teams jockeying to get in the playoffs in Region 5A, go toe-to-toe. And I joked earlier in the show, I was craving a big game. I finally got one that went down to the wire because we always look forward to these games. We circle on the schedule as reporters, Coach, and they end up being blowouts. So it's a little disappointing as far as what you look for. Don't really care who wins these games. I want excitement. I want drama. I want late game. I got it last week with Oscar Smith and Indian River, a touchdown catch in the final play of the game. So if anything, I'm expecting in this game with what you've done this year, and even Bayside's had a lot of close games, this might go down to the final play, be it a kick, a pass. You never know at the end. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's going to be one heck of a game. They're a good squad. We're a good squad. We'll just see where the chips fall. Hopefully the ball rolls our way. I've already been looking at that forecast. Saturday it looks a little sketchy. I'm not liking the rain and the thunderstorm forecast, but it is what it is. Can't fight Mother Nature. We need to play in the parking lot. We'll play in the parking lot. But let's have ourselves a good game on Saturday.
There you go. Mother Nature remains unblemished on the year, and Brian Neas's Knights trying to get in the postseason. What's that?
She's undefeated.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time coming on the show. We look forward to chatting with you again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
That's the head coach of the Knights of Kellam High School, Brian Neas, with us, and we'll take a time out and come back with more and put the finishing touches on this edition of On the Hash with Hatfield. You're watching on the Virginia Beach Sportsplex streaming channel on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on VirginiaPreps.com. We'll talk to you in just a little bit.
Well, it's everybody's favorite time of year again. Time to prepare to make your annual donation to that infernal revenue service. And if you're like me, you need help. Help to keep that donation as small as possible. So get off your W-2 and call John Maynard at John's Tax Service. 455-6763.
Thousands of athletes disappear in clutch moments due to falling hydration levels.
I used to go missing all the time. I let everyone down. I even let Shannon Sharp down.
Yeah, you let me down. They've been told how you feel yourself doesn't matter. That electrolytes are all the same. Then just like that, they're gone. Get yourself back in the game. Get yourself a Gatorade. Could be the difference between dominating and disappearing. Gatorade. Rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
And then you heard from Zoop Eatery, which helps make it possible for all of us each and every week to do this podcast for you. A bunch of great sponsors on board, from CHKD to Zoop and Dairy Queen, Chicho's, Freddy's, and so much more. It is On the Hash with Hatfields, who put the finishing touches on this edition of the podcast. You just heard from Brian Neas, who joined us from Kellam High School. We're keeping our fingers crossed they can get their game in with Bayside, as well as Bethel's game with Heritage coming up on Saturday, because those are two games looking very dicey. Bethel's got a makeup game with Phoebus on Tuesday. Meanwhile, Heritage has another game at the end of the schedule, so it's not going to be easy to make this up and squeeze it in at the end of the year. You know, the Peninsula leaves that last week of the season open in terms of its district for games, but Bethel's got a game with Hampton on the 28th of October. That's going to be hard to squeeze in to have a game at the end of the season, because you look at the end of the slate with what the Hurricanes have, and it looks like they play a makeup game with Woodside on November the 2nd. So going to be tough to pull off if you're trying to get this in there for these high school football teams. A couple of games on this Thursday night when we talk to you: Denby Kickitan, Hampton at Menchville at John B. Todd Stadium in Newport News. Coming up on Friday, Virginia Beach Sportsplex is where we'll be streaming a big matchup with Atlantic Shores playing host to Blue Ridge, two private school teams trying to jockey for their situation in the VISAA postseason picture. We mentioned Chris Higgins, a.k.a. Napoleon Dynamite, catching a couple of scores and getting player of the week a couple weeks ago. He and Michael Lance, the quarterback for the Seahawks, have been both clicking all year long as far as the numbers go. And quite honestly, he's probably the best private school passer in the 757. But we've got a good question of the week for folks that we're going to flash up here on the screen in just a bit. Who's the best running back around? Because right now, statistically, there's no real big-time star that's just kind of cemented himself. We've mentioned a lot of the great receivers. There's quarterbacks like Kassan Farrar at Green Run, running back Kassan Farrar at Green Run, as well as Autori Newkirk at Moore. They've been putting up big numbers. Eduardo Rios from Warwick, which is unblemished this year, putting up some pretty big numbers. Who's the best running back? My vote right now would go to Javon Ford at Kings Fork. He's closing in on 1,000 yards. You got two squaring off in Chesapeake with Brandon Nesbitt of Oscar Smith, formerly Deep Creek, and the Hornets' current tailback, and Hunter Barnes, who's got 800 yards in counting rushing. You have a couple of backs for Warwick, Rajana Hammond, who's in the mix. You could certainly throw up there from the Beach District. I like what Tajay Curtis is doing, but he's just a freshman. We talked about David Wilk for Kellam. But who is the best running back in the 757? That is our question of the week for all the loyal listeners and viewers of the podcast. We want to hear from you. Give us a comment, a note, drop us any type of message to give us what you think as far as who is the best running back in the 757 area code. I think in the state, Gideon Davidson at Liberty Christian, who's committed at Clemson, has cemented himself as at least top four. You've got Jeff Overton from Freedom. You've got Harry Dalton from Dinwiddie. You got a bunch of backs in the conversation. We want to know from you, who is the best running back in the entire 757 area code and give us a note. James Williams out there says Ford. Listen, James, I'm not going to dispute it with you. I think he's the best that I've seen, and I was really impressed with just his durability and toughness to get the hard yards against Nansemond River in that double overtime thriller against Kings Fork. He's just a junior, and he's in that top 4 conversation for class of 2025 with Davidson Dalton and Jeff Overton from Freedom that we've talked about. So that's one to keep an eye out for. There's some other backs that may certainly enter the conversation as we move it along, but you're looking at the playoff power ratings and some of the postseason numbers right now, some games to watch out for this week. There's no real dynamite game of the week. It might just be that one at the Sportsplex at Atlantic Shores and Blue Ridge for us. You've got Granby and Churchland. Break up the comments. They were one of my hats hits on Twitter or social media on X last week, as they are 5-1 riding high with a Coach of the Year candidate in Kendall Jefferson. They're taking on the Truckers, who got themselves a nice Portsmouth rivalry win over Norcom, and Dontavius Booker for them, sort of an unheralded, really good running back, quality ball carrier for the Truckers. I think whoever can establish the run will be the team that's going to have an edge in that ball game. You look at the 2 Southeastern games where you have Deep Creek visiting Oscar Smith, the Hornets trying to get in the postseason in 5A. It would be a major step in the right direction for Andre Twine's team, who got off to the slow start, losing to Currituck of North Carolina early in the year, as well as Nansemond by a lopsided margin. They need that game badly. The team that needs a game badly is Indian River. They're the 10 seed right now behind. Hard to believe this. They're behind Bayside, who's 9th, and Kellam, who's 8th. The Braves, if they get a 7 or 8 seed, who wants to see them in the first round? Whether you're a Greener at the top or you're a Cox, a Kempsville, a Tallwood, you don't want to see Indian River in the playoffs because they have the defense with Jordan Harris leading the area in sacks. They have a veteran quarterback in Tyler Allison, skilled position players. They get the offensive line ironed out. They could be a hard out in the postseason. You have next week, though, big matchup, Kings Fork, Oscar Smith. Kings Fork is trying to get that number 2 seed. It's going to be hard to catch more at the top, but in 5B now, moving up from 4A last year, they go knock off Oscar Smith next week. It'll give them a great chance to finish up 10-0. They've never done that in school history. They've certainly gone and gotten Oscar Smith in the past, snapping that 99-game winning streak that they had years ago when they were on that roll. But my goodness, if they can get this win, it gives them a great chance to host a couple of rounds of playoffs, even if they can't host the region championship. Should they go that far, you've got Warwick and Nansemond River in the background. And by the way, a couple weeks away from Warwick and Phoebus, Todd Stadium, it's going to be October 27th. Get your tickets online. It's going to be in Newport News, a big showdown in the peninsula. Warwick's got to worry about Hampton before that, and they have gone literally all 7 games without giving up a touchdown with their defense this year. 6 straight shutouts. Only score came on kick return to begin the year against Grasswood, who they beat by a running clock margin. But man, oh man, War Hill's looking like a really strong contender in 4A. Phoebus is the favorite, but War Hills could see them in a collision course, although watch out for Churchland or Hampton and try to catch them in the 4A picture. Another game to watch out for, besides that Bayside Kellam game on Saturday in the beach that has some ramifications, Kempsville, the Chiefs are starting to get rolling a little bit behind Coach Gerald Cherry and that freshman tailback we touched on in Tajay Curtis. They're going to take on Salem, and Salem's got a little tricky schedule here to close out the year. They got some injuries to deal with. Sun Devils could really help themselves if they can knock off the Chiefs at home. Lansdowne and Cox is into the key game. Cox has not scored above 17 points, but just once this year, which came in that opener that they prevailed over Princess Anne. They did have those 2 nice comebacks against both Bayside and Salem, but the Falcons want to keep themselves up there. Lansdowne needs this win if they have any hopes whatsoever to host in the first round. Would have to probably run the table or at least get to 6-4, I think, to get in the top 4 line in that Region 6A that is a gauntlet. So there you have it. And you see the playoff power ratings and all the great things that are happening across the high school football scene as it's getting revved up towards mid to late October. This is the fun time of year as we're getting closer and closer to playoff time. And we'll take all suggestions you have. Anybody you'd like to see on the show as far as a student athlete out there, a coach, definitely drop us a note. We've had on a variety of guests, and all of them that have come on with me, they've won their next game. So remember that, all you fans out there. If you come on with me, we'll see if that continues with Brian Neas of Kellam. Jerome Rhodes won from War Hill. We've seen other guests that have won. Anthony Joffrey on of Kings Fork won. It was close against Nansemond River. So if you come on with me, it's going to bode well for the next week. I'm not the jinx. That's Ed Young, who you hear with me on Saturdays on our 757 Saturday Sports Talk program. And we look forward to talking with you again on the podcast there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel where we have all kinds of content for you, whether it be high school football, high school soccer, lacrosse, you name it, field hockey, our field hockey podcast every week there as well. All kinds of great happenings when it comes to the Sportsplex and Hometown Sports Productions. We're bringing this podcast each and every week, and we'll have a game for you live with Atlantic Shores and Blue Ridge coming up on the Gridiron Friday night. So that's going to close out this latest edition of the pod. We'll talk to you again next week. We'll talk to you again on Saturday for 757 Saturday Sports Talk. And again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We're up all over the web, be it social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Our Chicho's Pizza Player of the Week once again was Travis Johnson of Oscar Smith. And enjoy your high school football Friday night action. Talk to you again soon.